very much for joining me today. Very excited about today's session. We're here to talk about managing to our operating objectives in 2022. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, by way of introduction, I just thought I'd take a few minutes to kind of give you a little bit of background about who I am and what really brought me here today to have this discussion. So I've actually been in the enterprise B2B technology space for the last 25 years, working for companies like IBM and Mitel, responsible for driving their go-to-market product strategy for my particular area. So I've got a tremendous amount of experience in the communication sector, analytics, customer experience, technology, and have had the opportunity over the course of my career to work everywhere from defining strategy to channel management, market research, etc. So I actually joined Zendelity in 2017. So today's session is really a combination of 2 years of research around this concept of physical operating compliance, and combining that with my 25 years of experience in the enterprise technology space. So really excited to share with you what I've learned and how I believe that we can help you and your peers meet and exceed expectations in 2022. So as I said, my goal within this session today is to help those in property management, facilities management, operations, help you ensure that you are prepared for what's coming our way, so that you can fully exceed expectations, enable you to balance your workload and budget based on all the various constraints that we have going on moving forward, show you how you can implement best practices so you can optimize your resources, show you how you can eliminate all of the manual reporting that's required today in operations, and really ultimately allow you to meet and exceed all of your stakeholders' expectations. So for today's agenda, I have broken it down into 3 key topic areas. So the first one I want to look at is, all of the outside influences that are coming our way and impacting operations. I fully believe that knowledge is power. The more that we understand what's coming our way and how it's going to impact us, the more proactive we can get in front of it and solve it. Next, I want to take a look at operations itself, and based on those kind of incoming changes, why I believe operations is ultimately being set up to fail to a certain extent. And then talk about finally how, if we digitally transform operations, we can put ourselves in a position to really change the game, to respond and exceed expectations moving forward. I'm just going to take a quick moment. Looks like there's a chat, make sure everybody is okay. We're looking good. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ashley. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, I would invite everybody, if you've got questions, if you've got comments, we're a relatively small group, so let's make this interactive. Let's learn from each other and share our thoughts. So as I said, I really want to kick off today's session and look at those pressure points that I have identified over the course of the last few years that are really going to impact us in 2022, bringing it all together. I'd like to take you through what I have seen, what I have learned about that, and then kind of look at how that impacts operations. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first area I want to talk about is our brand. So as I said, I have spent 25 years marketing, managing, building technology around customer experience, analytics, and the like. And traditionally, when I think of brand, we always talk about our digital brand, our, how we're doing in our call center, contact center, how we're doing on our website. But I really believe that the game has changed. Right now, it's all about your physical experience, both for your customers as well as for your employees. So when I look at my customers today, so interestingly, from a study from PwC, they found that today customers that have one bad experience will choose to 32%, of customers that have one bad experience will choose to no longer do business with an organization. So those are pretty high statistics. And then when you flip that coin and you look at the employee side, and I think we can all agree for any business, whether it's our customers are our students or our customers are our consumers, or whatever the case may be. We have our customers, and then we have employees. And it's really important that we protect our brand from both sides of things, because without the best employees, we're not able to give our customers the service that we're looking for. So a recent study from Honeywell actually came out post-COVID. And I think these are really interesting statistics, because I believe that these same employees are also our customers. So it's important that we understand it. So interestingly enough, they found that 68% of employees are currently scared to go back to work. What I think is most important to take away from that is, why are they scared? So they actually believe that the biggest risk in going back to work is all about the shared devices. Everybody is concerned in ways that we've never been before about our physical space and what's going on around it. So 43% believe that the biggest risk is our shared devices. But I think even more important than that is 42% believe it's a risk because they believe management will not enforce the requirements. So it's really important from an operations side of things that we are able to demonstrate to our employees and to our customers and prioritize that overall experience and provide them with the confidence, I like to say, eliminate the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that everything is being done to keep them safe, so we can maintain and protect that brand, so we can get, keep our customers happy, keep our customers loyal, and, ensure that we're putting ourselves in a position to hire the best and the brightest employees that are going to help drive our business. The next area is probably not going to come as any shock to anyone, but the threats, the physical threats that we in operations are faced with today are like never before. So it was actually, according to climate.gov, in 2021, we had over 20 record-breaking weather disasters in the US alone that reached over $1 billion in damages. According to the Global Peace Index for 2021, global unrest is increasing at a rate of 10%. And then, the sad but true fact is we're seeing mass shootings. I did a little analysis based on some research from Statistica, and it's found that, mass shootings have increased over the last 10 years by 218%. And the reality is, with these threats, as well, we can't control them. How we in operations respond to that threat is going to dictate the outcome. If we can respond and we can bring it together and shut it down as quickly as possible, we're going to protect our people, our customers, our employees, and of course our brand. As Benjamin Franklin once said, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. And so it's really important that we look at our emergency response plans moving forward, and making sure not only are they detailed in place, but ensuring that the people that are there to respond and to execute have all the tools and the information that they need to be successful. The next kind of external area that I want to bring everybody's attention to is all around commercial insurance. So in this case, I referred to the Insurance Marketplace Realities Report of 2022 that's put out every year by Willis Towers Watson. And not surprisingly, again, in 2022, they're expecting a two-tiered marketplace for your commercial insurance. So what does that mean? That means that premiums are going to be reviewed from two perspectives: low risk and high risk. If you're a low risk, if you're considered or classified as low risk, you're relatively fortunate. You can expect to see premium increases of around 2%. Whereas if you are considered a high risk property, you can expect to see commercial insurance premiums increase by upwards of 15%. So very, very significant difference in how you are going to respond. So this report actually goes on to say that they believe that the best solution in order for operations to negotiate those lower risks is all about investing in risk analytics or investing in data. So again, coming back to my time at IBM, operations is just like every other department within a business and organization. The more data we have, the stronger we are, the better we can respond. So, from an commercial insurance perspective, the idea is that you need to invest in the data so that you can demonstrate that your corporate strategies accurately, or your execution strategies, I should say, accurately reflect your corporate philosophy so that they're tied, they're one and the same. You want to be able to distinguish yourself from your peers. And this is especially true in a high risk. If you are in a high risk area, you need to be able to demonstrate that unlike your peers, you are doing ABC in order to reduce risk, keep everybody safe, etc. And then finally, the third area that they talk to is they really want with your insurance provider to be able to go in and tell a story, show all of the ways and all of the things that you're doing to mitigate risk across your property. And if you can do that, if you can pull that data together, you put yourself in a much better position to negotiate the lower risk, to prove that you're a lower risk and reduce those premiums. The other area that I think everybody should be, we all need to be thinking about is all about our regulators. So in this particular case, I'm looking at occupational health and safety. So doing a little research to understand kind of where we are with that, what I found is that actually 43% of the inspections that took place in 2021 actually were a result of a referral or a complaint. So what do we take away from that? All of a sudden, we are a see and tell world. If something's going wrong, people are more willing than ever to speak and communicate that concern. On top of that, the Biden administration has committed that by 2024, they will double the number of inspectors. So now from an operations perspective, what do we take away from that? That means that all of a sudden, people are talking, people are going to identify and proactively identify risks that they see. And then we've got more inspectors to go out and to address that concern or those issues. So much more difficult to keep things under the radar, if you will. And I think what's really important to understand is, so every year for a willful violation, so a willful violation being something you knew was wrong and you allowed it to happen anyways, we're seeing those increases by inflation. So this year, a willful violation would cost an operation $134,000. And I think what's most important to take away from that is there's never going to be one violation. If you've got a willful violation, there's likely going to be many, right? So we've got more people that are talking. People are no longer willing to remain quiet. We've got more inspectors at hand, available to address the situation and make sure that everybody is safe. And then the cost of being willfully violated is quite significant to the bottom line. So we want to do whatever we can to avoid those risks, to avoid those penalties. And really, again, just like the insurance place, make sure that you've got the data to show that you are doing everything in your power to reduce risk, to keep your workers safe. The fourth area, and I actually, I learned this from one of our prospects that we're working with now, an area school district, and it made me realize that those in operations are in a need to support so many different perspectives. It's not as simple as I have one boss and this is what I do. In operations, we've got our corporate, who are of course always looking to reduce costs. Corporate administration, whatever your definition of corporate may be. And then of course you've got your union workers that are demanding a safer environment, demanding that people be held accountable. So we want you, unions want us to do more. We've got corporate who wants you to do less or reduce costs. And then of course, in those situations where you've got a franchise, we've got those influencing, you must protect our brand, do everything to make sure that, we don't sour the name. And then of course, you've got your legal and moral general duty of care. So when you think of all of those different pressures that are coming in and impacting operations, it becomes very, very difficult to balance and manage expectations. It becomes very difficult to have the discussions to demonstrate, why we need to do ABC over XYZ or why we can't. Right. So I think that when we look at our operating teams, we need to ensure that they've got the ability to facilitate these conversations so we can set expectations with these various stakeholders that are reasonable for operations itself. And then, the final area that I really want to touch on that I don't think is going to be of any surprise to anyone on this call, but I think it is, it's definitely worth reiterating. And that is, again, we all know it, wages are increasing. Living wage, everybody is looking for minimum wage, living wage to continue to increase. So for our, from operations that rely heavily on, frontline minimum wage or lower income individuals, is going to impact our bottom line. As a result of COVID, we're seeing more people out sick. When I was traveling here to BC this week, I overheard somebody in a restaurant talking, and they were talking about their husband, and their husband was out for 21 days from work due to COVID. Between getting better and all the isolation and everything else. But what does that do to operations? How do you schedule? How do you manage when people are constantly out and away from work, outside of your control? And then I think the other area that, from a resource perspective is, again, resources are becoming really hard to find. Whether that's because of the subsidies from COVID, whether it's people took the opportunity during COVID to upskill, or whatever the case may be, it's becoming more and more difficult to find the resources that we need to be successful in operations. So what does that translate to? It means that our expenses are going up. It's really difficult to schedule people, and we're often short-staffed, so make it difficult to have the right people in the right place to deliver upon all the expectations and meet your objectives. And then, of course, your recruitment costs are going up. So when we put all of those things together, I believe that those external pressures with our current methodologies are in some ways setting us up to fail. And, our goal is to help people kind of explore that and understand that and demonstrate how we can address this issue and set you up to succeed in 2022. So let's take a closer look at that. So when I look at operations, I think we all know it's physical, manual, administrative, and risky, right? These are the teams of people across any operation that are there to ultimately keep us safe, keep us physically safe, keep our quality standards there, everything from maintenance to health and safety, fire prevention, etc. Right? So an extremely important group of people that without we couldn't physically operate our business, generate our revenue, and grow, etc. So when we look at that, what is this team of individuals responsible for? It's actually much more complicated than many people might realize. And of course, it's very physical, right? So here's an operation where we've got all kinds of regulations and requirements, physical things that must be done day in, day out to keep us safe. And then unlike, the finance department or the marketing department, that everything is digitalized, operations is completely physical. Whether it's you need somebody to put their eyes on something, they need to listen for unusual sounds or smells, or go in and physically touch something, physically something must be done in order to be compliant with these requirements, right? So it's a different part of the business that we really need to think about differently and look at how we're managing it. And this is a part of the business that when things go wrong, the impacts are tremendous. It could be as simple as customer loyalty, but as complicated or costly as business continuity. There's damages, there's injuries, fines, premiums, the like. And, it could even result in unemployment, right? If something goes wrong and it's that bad, right? So there's some very big risks at hand from physical operations that we really need to wrap our mind around. And then when we put all of those additional external pressures on us, it really does complicate matters and take it to the next level. So what's the fundamental issue? And that, I believe, is the fact that today, when we look at operations, we are still very much reliant on paper. Whether it's the fire extinguisher on the ticket on the fire extinguisher. We have a friend who's a chief fire inspector. And as he says, that's the first thing to burn in a fire. And there goes all of our documentation that says, when something was inspected. The reality is across operations, we are still reliant on checklists, sticky notes, logbooks, manuals, and the like. And the challenge is that when we step back and look at that, we really don't have any visibility as to what's going on right now or what has happened. The information that's presented is unreliable at best. We had to take the ferry over from Vancouver to Vancouver Island, and my husband went into the bathroom and saw the sign on the back of the bathroom door. And, you know, they said somebody had just cleaned the bathroom 5 minutes ago, is what it said. There was no paper towels, there was no soap, there was no nothing. And while that's, you know, a very minimal thing and could impact our, you know, it's a customer experience issue, you know, that is said to be true in everything. What happens if the fire extinguisher wasn't actually inspected and somebody said it was, and then we need it, right? So there's no reliability to the information that's being presented. There's no accountability to, you know, responsibilities. It's just very difficult and complicated to manage. And then when we add on to that, you know, again, talking about those external pressures with the regulators and all the stakeholders and all of the people that operations need to report, what we're seeing is almost like an administrative nightmare. You spend all your time pulling data, trying to create reports that demonstrates compliance. The problem is that you find yourself in a position where we're constantly being reactive versus proactive. By the time we collect the information and identify there's an issue and then try to action it and find out if it was real, that issue is long past. So we need to find a way in operations to get ahead of the problem, to understand what's going on, eliminate kind of that manual reporting. And we believe at Zendelity that the solution that, you know, if you want to, you know, to help you exceed your objectives in 2022, it's time to digitally transform operations. And as you'll see as we take you through the next slides, if you do that, we believe that you can implement best practices, you can easily optimize your employees, you can facilitate data-driven discussions with all of your stakeholders. So when you've got corporate coming and they want you to cut costs and you need to invest and unions want you to invest in more safety or regulators want you to invest in more safety. Now we've got the data to have a data-driven discussion about what's actually happening and what do we need. It will improve visibility. You'll have a real-time view about what's actually going on across your operations. Are you compliant or are you not? And you know, obviously it's going to happen where there may be an issue, but at least you've got the visibility as to what's going on. And then finally, it'll give you confidence. We're currently working with a university and they are digitally transforming their fire response plans. So now for the first time, they're going to have a real-time view as to all of their fire extinguishers. And they've got 2,200 fire extinguishers across the property, that they're all in the right place, that they've been inspected, and that they work. So now they're going to have complete confidence that if something goes wrong, at least they've done everything in their power and can prove it to make sure that we can keep the people on campus safe. So let's take a look at that. So when we talk about digitally transforming, it's a bit of a situation of it's better together. So we can digitally transform operations by combining the powers of the smartphone and NFC tags. For those that are not familiar with NFC, it's called near field communication. So it's actually similar to the chip that's in your bank card or your Visa card that you take and you tap with to pay, as an example. In this case, though, now instead of the reader being the debit machine or the bank machine, it's your telephone. Now we can digitally transform and combine those two technologies to really automate and digitalize operations. So I'll take a little bit of a closer look at that and kind of show you what it is we're doing. So you can, by digitally transforming operations, you can automate all of those work plans and that are required in order to keep people safe, to reduce risk, to improve safety, et cetera, across the board. You can optimize operations and ensure that you're using most efficiently of your resources, and you can visualize in real time exactly what's going on across your property. Ultimately, what does it mean? You can be 100% confident that all of these tasks across your property that must be done day in, day out are actively being done and give you the data to prove it. We can provide you with a single version of the truth. So we can enable the mobile collection of all of that data and put it into a single central repository. So you've got a single version of the truth, so you can have historical reports and monitoring, so you can have data-driven discussions. When someone comes in and says, did you do ABC? We can pull up a report and the information is there, saving valuable time and resources. And again, allowing you to have that data-driven discussion between your various stakeholders as to exactly what is being done in operations to reduce risk, to ensure quality, and keep people safe. Can also provide you with a real-time view of compliance. The question is, are you compliant today? As an operator, if you were to look and somebody comes to you and says, fire code, health and safety, emergency response plan, are you compliant today, right now? It's very hard to say with 100% certainty. Now we can look at, by digitally transforming, you can have that real-time view of compliance, so you can know where you stand today in regards to compliance, so you can take a proactive approach and upgrade and change as required. And then finally, we can eliminate all of that manual reporting and manual management that's required in operations today. So using a mobile application, we can enable you to provide detailed instructions for your staff so they understand exactly what needs to be done. There's no confusion. You can have a real-time view as to where you are within completing your day-to-day work plans. You can report and manage down to a task level. Report real-time incidents, so we no longer need to worry about somebody writing on a sticky note that there's something broken somewhere. They can report it in real time so we can action it. We can do silent notifications. So it's really about getting rid of all of that manual work that's required in order to manage operations and reduce our risk. And we believe that doing so, by digitally transforming operations, this is going to deliver value across the board to all of your key stakeholders. Whether it's your staff, we believe that we can make it easier for them to do their job by having the information that they need at their fingertips. From management, make it easier to manage to objectives and give you the data that you need to respond and have discussions with your stakeholders and budget. From a corporate or administration perspective, we can improve confidence that operationally we're doing everything to reduce risk and to protect the brand. And then even for our unions, we can improve union management relationships by having, again, data-driven discussions on exactly what teams are doing. Make sure it's an even distribution of workload. Make sure, depending on the type of union. So this is a win-win for everybody across the board. Not only do we make it easier to do our jobs, but we reduce risk and we help keep everybody safe. So obviously, we have to ask ourselves about the return on investment. Is it worth digitally transforming our operations? And we believe that the answer to that is yes. So we've actually done a couple little studies, and we believe that we could easily save your staff and your management and operations 30 minutes a day, which might not sound like much in the grand scheme of things, but when you translate that operating efficiency alone for a single building would yield a return on investment of approximately 164%, depending upon your use case and implementation. Obviously, that's going to continue to grow with more buildings, more users, more use cases. But I think what's really important is that's just the basic return on investment at the base core level. Not only of that, we believe you can grow your revenue, whether it's protecting your brand, quality, all of that for your customers and employees. Eliminate that fear and uncertainty and doubt that something is not clean or is unsafe. And there's also significant cost savings or cost avoidance that I think should be considered when looking at the value of digitally transforming your operations. Whether it's avoiding a great example is a slip and fall. Slip and fall is a very simple thing. It costs your operation $60,000 on average for a slip and fall. If we can reduce that cost, if we can reduce that settlement because we've got the data to demonstrate that we've done everything in our power, we're in a better position. If we can use that data to show that to reduce the settlements, et cetera, we puts ourselves in a better position. So I stand before you today and believe there's a significant return on investment for your operation in starting to look at how you can digitally transform operations and improve efficiency, reduce risk, and the like. So Command Center from Zendelity, in essence, it's going to enable you to digitally transform operations so that you can exceed those objectives in 2022. It's going to enable you to ensure that you're compliant with all of the physical requirements across the property, whatever ones are important to you and what you want to manage. And that's one of the beautiful things about this. I was talking about it last night. This is not this is not a solution that is specific to use cases. The beautiful thing about this technology is for anything that you are managing compliance on, whether it's health and safety or whether it's custodial cleaning, whatever the case may be, you can use this technology. It has the flexibility to adapt to your particular use case, to your requirements, to your measurement, and give you the data and the information that you need so that you can manage to your objectives in 2022. So you can balance the workload and the budget. We can have those data-driven discussions. So you can implement best practices and optimize your staff, eliminate all the time and resources spent in manual reporting and management, and ultimately enable you to exceed your objectives in 2022 and beyond. And with that, I'd like to stop now and open it up to any questions. I'd also like to point out that we are offering an early adopter incentive, 20% off your first year. If you're interested and want to chat about that, I would invite you to reach out. But for now, let's open it up to any questions and see what everybody has to say or think or do. Thoughts?
So this is near like a credit card. You walk by it, it picks up, or how close you have to be for it to sync or for it to identify.
So currently today, it's actually the mobile phone that is reading. So as an example, we like props here. So what you do is you can put in an NFC tag on anything. So whether it's a fire extinguisher, a boiler, your custodial equipment, the rooftop, whatever it is you need. And then using our mobile application, we can build a work plan around that. And then as staff execute, as they complete each task, they merely tap their phone to this. And that collects all the data that you need into a single version of the truth that you can then, from a management perspective, you can pull up reports, you can monitor in real time, and see exactly how you're performing as it relates to compliance.
Okay. Okay.
So I think the beautiful thing is really the flexibility. So if you can dream it, if you can look across, in your case, your school district, and you can see any of the requirements, anything that you need your teams to put their hands on, to look at, to listen, to smell, we can build a work plan around that. We can facilitate data collection. So as an example, we have a school district here in Canada that we are working with. And a few years ago, there was a leak in their water system that it took them 3 days to find out about it. And it cost them over $30,000 in water usage costs. So using the application, we can build a work plan around that checks the water usage. So every day the custodian or whomever does it just enters what the current water is. And then we can build if-then rules. So if there's more than a 10% difference or whatever your threshold is, you can be automatically notified that there, excessive water usage at ABC school, so that you can take immediate corrective action and you have that information. You don't need to worry about the custodians understanding what is a normal difference or anything like that. You establish the rules that you want, and you implement them. I think another great example that we have been talking about, my brother was, back in the day, he was one of the custodians that came in at night to clean the schools after everybody had left. So we're actually talking about this with another colleague, how you could build a work plan around the cleaning requirements, because those positions, there's probably a lot of in and out, a lot of different people. So now instead of having to train them, You can hand them the work plan on the mobile phone, and it tells them exactly where to go across your school, what needs to be clean. They can check off their progress. You get a report in the morning or whenever you want that says exactly what was done. So if the teachers come in and say my, ABC classroom wasn't done, you can simply pull it up. You can see exactly who was there, when they did it. You can take photographs, and now you've got all that information at your fingertips to effectively deal with the situation.
So, okay. I understand it, and I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to wrap my head around how much work had to be done in the back end, the back of the house, to upload the information that each thing would need, each item would need to have done, each pool. How much of that have to be uploaded?
So we have. I think that the biggest job is really defining what you need to do. But for uploading the information, if we have it in an Excel spreadsheet, we can automatically upload it into the system on your behalf. So you just need to connect the data to the NFC tag. So it can be quite simple. You can also walk. So using the mobile application, if I know it's going to be, I want to build a work plan around my boilers, you'll be able to, walk to boiler A, stick a tag to it, create an item, and add it to a work item as you go, kind of thing. So there's a variety of different input methods. It depends on what makes sense for you in the use case. So it would be the type of thing that we would work with you on, trying to understand what you do, determine what's the best way to get the information into the system so that it's the most efficient to you. It does require some work on your part. There is an element of having to, go and kind of document all this stuff. I think, so there is some work for sure, but, if we look at our use case at the university, so they've actually gone through, they've got 2,200 fire extinguishers. And I won't lie to you, it's been a big job. So we have gone and identified for each fire extinguisher, we have the serial number, we have the model, size, et cetera, for all 2,200 fire extinguishers now across the property. It has taken some time to correct that. But I think what's most important is this process of building these work plans, the amount of issues or errors that they've been able to identify so that they can fix it for the future is tremendous. And then the time savings that the university is going to experience. So right now, they've got one individual who walks around every month and collects the Excel spreadsheet or does the checkoff list. They then give that spreadsheet to somebody in administration who then takes 2 days to type up, the results of all of those spreadsheets, which in this case, the fire coordinator never actually saw the results. And so now all of a sudden they've got access to all of that data at their fingertips. We'll be able to do cradle to grave reporting on each fire extinguisher. So when the fire extinguisher or the fire inspector arrives, you can show for the last, however, every time someone has touched a physical and inspected that particular fire extinguisher. So it provides, I think I would recommend that the longer term benefits. So there is a short term push to collect the data for sure, but I think that longer term time savings will pay for itself in dividends.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I would love to Cecil, can you share your experiences? Cecil, we've been working with Cecil as an early adopter now for the last, what are we now, Cecil? We're at, I guess we're three or four months. 3 months we've kind of been live. So yeah, please share your experience. And
so to kind of answer Tim's question, it can be tedious. The data collection can be tedious, but the good thing is Rebecca and the team at Zendelity, they've been willing to just, we could send them spreadsheets for the information that we want. and then they'll attach it to each of the NFC tags or FRID tags in our case. And I think the benefit of this whole system is that it allows us, the end user, the operations team, we can just touch our information. We can have our information at the tip of our fingers, as opposed to calling someone at that location saying, I need this information, I need that information, and not having reliable information is also good. I think Rebecca, she said it the right way. This can be adapted to anything that you need. So we initially plan to use it for our boilers, to maintain our boilers, to make sure we're in compliance with our boiler inspections, elevator inspections, chiller inspections, and preventive maintenance. But we figured we could use this also for helping us to train new employees as they come in. We have a lot of part-time workers, and they may last for 4 months. They may last for 4 weeks or 4 years. We don't know, but we have a lot of ebb and flow with the workers. So by using these tags, the NFC tags, using those tags in different areas, we're able to pull up a customized report that we've created in conjunction with Rebecca and her team, and it works for us. It streamlines everything, and we know that all the paper that we have, all the reports that we need, the more information we put into it, and at the beginning of this process, is going to pay off for us in the end. Because the more accurate information, the more detailed information we have, we're able to gear that information to whatever kind of report we want. If we want to know the age of our boilers, what the newest boilers are, what the last time we had a certain vendor come in to PM our boilers or PM our chillers, well, we're having our vendors to actually use this, our contractors to use this on their phones, so that they can scan and let us know that, yep, I came out and used it. I came out and made this repair. It was repaired. Or we came out and initiated a repair, but we have to wait for a part. Instead of us having these invoices that we get from companies and say, did they ever finish that job? We don't know if they finished. We don't know if they really PM'd those chillers. But now we could put them in, even for our own personal HVAC team, when it comes to replacing filters within the units, we can stick these tabs right into the units to make sure that they actually went in and replaced that filter. So it's so many ways to use this to help us to make sure our workforce, to keep them honest, and also to make sure that we are doing the proper preventive maintenance, all the proper things that we need to do in operations to make sure that we have clean and safe buildings.
I think, and one of the things so as an early adopter working with Cecil, one of the areas that we had talked about is that they're doing the roof inspections as well to make sure that all the drains are cleared. So we're putting a tag on there. But one of the things, so Cecil brought up this great point to us. He says, well, one of the concerns is if somebody goes up on the roof and they haven't come out of the roof, off the roof by a certain period of time, maybe they've, the heat exhaustion has hit them. So based on that, what we learned from Cecil in that particular use case, we're actually going to add timing onto it. So if it's not completed within X number of minutes, then to send an automatic alert, so that somebody could go up to the roof and, make sure that they're okay. Right. So it's really all about trying to make it easier, keep risk, make sure that you're doing everything that you need to, and then give you the information to reduce risk and keep people safe as well. So it's been an absolutely fantastic experience working with Cecil and learning from him and the team and how we can continue to grow and improve and really ensure physical operating compliance of all kinds, shapes, and sizes. Thank you for sharing that, Cecil. It's very much appreciated. Any other questions?
I think I'm going to see if Cecil will have us out to come take a look at it in action. Yeah, I would, as I am, we're only a 7-school district, and Um, I think this, depending on how much work it is and how, what's it called? The down the line obligations or will it be available? How will it mesh with future technology? You know, so that we don't have to revisit this again. So once we put, you know,
Oh, it just, and absolutely, I think that's a fantastic question and a great concern. So just, you know, on that note, from a design and development perspective, we have designed it so that with an application kind of integration interface. So our goal is to make it easy for, you know, if you need to integrate it to particular applications, to input the data, et cetera, that stuff that we can work with you on. In addition to that, you know, we're a big believer in making it easy for applications to talk to each other by design. So it's something that is very near and dear to us, our hearts as well. But yeah, so I mean, any questions at any time, and I'm always here, happy to help. Unless there's no other questions, I really do appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I hope you found the session interesting. You know, as I said, we are looking for early adopters that are willing to work with us. And, you know, and when I say work with us, our goal is to be partners. So we want to work with people to really help and work with you to understand how can we make your life better. It's very important to us. We're not just looking for customers, we're looking for partners that we can grow and evolve with. And really make, you know, physical operating compliance, again, remove that, remove the fiction and make it easier for you to accomplish your objectives year over year.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. Well,
Wonderful. Thank you all for your time. It is greatly appreciated. All the best. Thank you. Take care. Bye.